Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to tonight's main event of the evening. It's the heavyweight clash between those two transatlantic travel titans, American Airlines versus British Airways.
In a heavyweight bout to be crowned the best business class cabin out of the two airlines. In an epic 7-round battle for the ages.
Introducing to my right, it puts the battery into AA. It's the king of the wing. It's American Airlines. And to my left, and I chose the left because a lot of customers left them after the debacle of the executive club change. It's the double tier point tyrant. It's the Brunchgate bruiser. It's British Airways. Tonight we expect a nice clean fight. No tier point switcheroos. No membership year-end changes. No missing Avios points. A good clean fight. Let's get ready to rumble. Clip on. It's a clip on.
Yes, you've guessed it. It's another splurge of creativity where me, Tony, try to do something a little bit different within our little YouTube bubble of travel content creators. Today, it's a head-to-head with British Airways and American Airlines, specifically their business class cabins, and a great head-to-head through the medium of a fake boxing match. Now, I'm not going to do a whole spiel on the commentary and do it all in character because that would get pretty tedious pretty quickly. But the origins of this idea was a joke. I actually thought of a joke, which was, what if British Airways was a character in a Rocky film? I thought it would be Executive Clubber Lang. Alas, I couldn't really weave that in, but I thought, hang on, there's still some material here. So Clubber Lang was, of course, played by the iconic actor Mr. T. Now we all know that Mr. T was also in the A Team, wasn't he? And who did he play in the A Team? BA. That's right, British Airways BA. BA Baracus. Unbelievable, seamless. And I remembered as a kid thinking, BA, what did BA stand for? We were told it was bad attitude. Just like some people, not me, maybe other people out there thought the way that British Airways dealt with the executive club rollout and the changes demonstrated a bad attitude. Alas, bad attitude, Baracus, is not what BA stood for. It was Bosco Albert. Who'd have thunk that? That is a really good one for any pub quizzes. Bosco Albert Baracus. That said, I thought I could still salvage this. I can still salvage some kind of joke out of this. And I thought Mr. T has got two iconic phrases and two iconic catchphrases. Number one, we could use number one as the British Airways, those corporate bigwigs, the British Airways, thinking about the executive club changes and how they're treating their customers. No, I don't hate our loyal BA customers. I pity the fools. Which is, of course, their prerogative. But some of you out there may want to remember the second Mr. T phrase, I ain't getting on no plane. Totally up to you. I am getting on British Airways planes, still going, so that's fine. But this kind of storm, this issue, this hassle, these headaches, these headlines, whatever you want to call them, maybe rethink this joke. And I couldn't quite get the angle. I couldn't quite work it out. So let's try it one last time. If British Airways was a character in a Rocky film, who would it be? Apollo Greed. Anywho, let's crack on with the head-to-head battle. I am now clearly going to start using some Rocky phrases, some Rocky catchphrases and quotes, so keep an eye out for them. Play along at home if you really want.
Yatsibia. Yatsibia.
I will need to establish a few ground rules here, some Queensberry rules, if you will. First of all, this is going to be British Airways' new suite. versus American Airways suite. It's not going to be the old decrepit British Airways A380 and all that malarkey, because that's a one-way street. He's going down. He's going down. No, it's going to be new versus new. Another factor is I'm not going to involve or review any airport lounges, because obviously it does depend where you're flying and from which destination. So it's just going to focus purely on the flights. And finally, not going to talk about the cabin crew or judge them, because they are brilliant, they're fantastic, they're amazing, and they always do a good job. So, seconds away. Ready? Round one. Dink, dink. Right off the bat, the design of these two seats are pretty similar. They have your standard upright seat that then gets into a full flatbed. I did try and see the exact measurements, but I know British Airways is a 6 foot bed, and I assume American Airways is about the same. But as I'm slightly less than 6 foot, to my general frustration, 5'10", I'm 6 foot, look, 6 foot. It doesn't make too much difference to me. The main contrast, I think, and this is where it probably will be down to personal preference, is just the aesthetic look. I found that the American Airlines business class cabin had a kind of slightly lighter wooden, faux wooden finish to it, whereas BA was a little bit more sort of sleeker, a little bit darker, but perhaps a little bit more contemporary. There was no real difference between the comfort of the seat and the bed and the linen. Both were very soft, very comfortable to sleep in. So that's a score draw. Both of them slogging away there. No clear winner. The very small attention to detail. This is the little teeny things that make the difference, as people always say to me. As an example, storage space. Both seats have a decent amount of storage space, but I think BA use it slightly more shrewdly. There's a few more hidden compartments, and the way I also liked it that the controller was within one of those compartments. So that kind of made things a little bit crisper, a little bit more even. Not having something by the side of your head. Likewise, there's a little tray table. So for some reason, American Airlines have like a weird sort of slightly fold across tray table, whereas BA's was a little bit smoother. You could push it in and out. This made it considerably more comfortable, both in terms of eating your food, but also when it comes to just getting up and going to the galley or going to the toilet. Yeah, I kind of, at least I like the design of the American Airlines one. I like the concept, but in terms of practicality, it's a no from me. And unfortunately, the small niggling things in the American Airlines cabin, while not disastrous, just take the sheen off and unfortunately are going to lose it some points when it comes to the seat score. I didn't like the position of the controller, which was right by the side of your head, a little bit awkward. I said the BA one was inside the compartment, so a little bit more crisp and clean. The recline function was also in a better position on the British Airways suite. And I think finally, the small thing, but it's a big bugbear, was I couldn't find the socket to put my earphones in when it came to listening to films or music. It's actually tucked in the compartment either side of your head. So it's a little bit inconvenient. And a final flurry from British Airways to rattle American Airlines ancestors is the slider door, which adds a great bit of privacy to your suite. The American Airlines seats don't have that. So if you are going to recline fully to a flat bed, you can pull up the side to get a little bit of a kind of armresty thing, but you are still fairly exposed to the aisle. So yes, unfortunately, a few of those small details means that British Airways takes round one. Don't worry, American Airlines, don't worry. Let it go. Let it go. We've got round two. Round two is the cabin itself, the wider cabin, as it were. Both British Airways and American Airlines, again, have nice, relaxed, quite tranquil cabins for business class. So, on the whole, you are going to have a pleasant, relaxing journey. It's not going to be chock full of people or too much noise or anything like that. But there has to be a winner. And in this case, I'm going to plump for American Airlines because there was a very small cabin. It was just 2 seats in that section of the business class cabin before the back. And again, these planes may have slightly different configurations, but that just edged it for me, just made it feel a little bit more intimate, because some of those BA cabins do have quite a few, or can have quite a few business class seats. It does make it feel somewhat busier. That said, a bugbear of that flight was that the blinds were put down all day, and it was a day flight. That was annoying. However, that's an incremental issue, I hope, and it's not something that's is implemented in every single flight. But that would have been a downer. But get back up, get on your feet. And yes, American Airlines takes round 2. Round 3 is food. We all know that food doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to airlines. And if, like me, you're a frequent traveler, you're going to have to learn how to eat things that will make a billy go puke. The food does get marginally better in the higher cabins, but Now, this is a pretty sluggish round for both BA and American Airlines. Neither really perform at the utmost level of their game. We all know the issue with aircraft food. It doesn't tend to be nice, and it's almost like a piece of iron, some of these things, if they're over microwaved. The good thing about aircraft food is the stuff they don't actually have to zap in a microwave can be quite nice, whether it's sushi, soup, cold soup, salad, and so on. And on the 2 flights I did, both BA and AA had really good starters. However, it was the main course that let them down. AA had some fish that was not particularly appealing, and BA had what looked like could have been chicken as the main course. Neither were particularly nice, and I have to say I didn't enjoy either of them. They flurried back with some cheese at the end, and it's cut. It's cut. The cheese is cut, and it's a bad cut. And obviously, they don't have to microwave or cook cheese, so they just take it out of the packet. Fair play. And then the other snacks were also pretty underwhelming, unpleasant, disgusting. So it's a tough choice. Bigger is better, and I'm going to give it to American Airlines because their portions of food, their portions of nicer food and not so nice food and cheese were bigger than British Airways portions. So that round goes to American. Round 4, we move on to drinks. Now, obviously, you've got water and soft drinks, but let's talk about the harder stuff. The tipples, as you will. This is another close fight between the 2 behemoths. We all know there can be very stingy airlines, and there can be quite generous airlines when it comes to booze. So much so because I can see 3 of them out there. Drink the one in the middle. Drink the one in the middle. Now, I have alluded to this before, and it may be a controversial call. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of British Airways when it comes to their business class drink service. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. I'm not being ungrateful. I'm not being a brat. I'm just saying that, generally speaking, it can be a little bit slow by the time they take everybody's orders, and by the time they bring the drinks round, and they're not always the most generous at refilling. I tend to find shuttle up. I tend to find that premium economy, the staff are a little bit more generous. They'll just, do you want a gin and tonic? Yeah, have 2. Do you want some wine for day? Yeah, have 2, have 3. Keep going, keep going, go and go. The body, the body, the body. So I've always found that actually better and a bit more relaxing, slightly less awkward. Not looking like an alcohol dependent. Excuse me, stewardess. Can I have some more? That's actually Oliver rather than Rocky, but forget that. Both airlines came out serving the drinks as a whole in a glass rather than the bottle. However, those good folk at American gave you a couple of extra bottles with that so you could top up. BA didn't. So I'm afraid to say, not afraid to say, I've got no skin in the game. But another round to American Airlines. Now, I know what you're thinking. American Airlines sounds like it cannot be defeated. If it flies, it flies. Well, hold on to your hats because there's still some fight left in BA. We've still got some more rounds to go. So let's move on. Round 5. In-flight entertainment. And, well, yo, AA, I didn't hear no bell. My ring's inside. This is where BA comes swinging back with the in-flight entertainment. Now, on the surface, this is quite a close round. But the key differences between American Airlines and British Airways when it comes to the in-flight entertainment is you will see that the cabin I travelled in on American, they had a pull-out, fold-out screen, which a bit like the old-style British Airways planes or business cabin. Yeah, it's quite handy. You can fold it away, fold it forwards. In contrast, British Airways has their screen completely integrated, so you can't move it. It's there right up front. Both airlines have pretty decent screens and content and all that stuff, so that's quite close. However, there is some differences here that are quite important. Good thing for American Airlines is it didn't have any adverts, which BA does, so that's a point for them. They also have these lovely, fantastic, funky Bang& Olufsen headphones. Good, it's that they take it away from you an hour before the flight and give you the stupid little economy bud thingy. So that's negative. BA, on the other hand, it has the adverts, but what BA's in-flight system has that I love that American Airlines doesn't is the games. Like the little games of Tetris, little Tetris games, and the what's it called? The Boggle, and you've got crosswords, and that is really good to just while away a few minutes, a few hours, a few days. So the extra stuff on the games is a win. This round goes to British Airways. Round 6, we are hotting up. British Airways is rising up. They're rising straight to the top. They had the guts, they got the glory. They go in the distance, and I'm sure they're not going to stop. Just an airline and their will to survive. It's the amenity kit. Now, anyone who flies BA knows that their amenity kit is really good, certainly in business class and first class. That's even better. But the business class comes in a very, very nice little pouch which can be reused. It's very helpful for travel bags or uh, put your little what are they called, toiletries. Put toiletries in there or wires or cables, all that sort of stuff. They're very similar. The British Airways, the American Airlines one. The American Airlines bags I didn't think was quite as nice. Maybe it had more of a kind of sporty wash bag feel to it. The big difference for me here, this is where the you separate the men from the boys, is the eye mask. So the American Airlines eye mask in business wasn't particularly good. It was more similar to the premium economy eye masks you get in British Airways. Whereas I love my British Airways eye masks, the big ones that cover up all your eyes. They're very soft. They're lovely. They're great. A little bit of a rally from American because unlike British Airways, they also have some slippers. They have some slippers which you can enjoy, and that's quite handy. Obviously, going to the bathroom with all icky stuff on the floor. But ultimately, I'm not going to reuse that. And I'm going to reuse those fantastic eye masks. I love your eye masks. So this round, it goes to BA. So far, then, the judges have scored it evens. We have 3 rounds to American Airlines and 3 rounds to British Airways. So this is it now. The last round. The last round. Round 7, which is the overall experience. Oh, and well, ain't nothing over till it's over. Probably the 70s. This is really difficult because there are so many fine margins, so many counterbalances. The fact that you get a nicer eye mask versus slippers, the fact you get slightly bigger and better food and slightly smaller food, the fact you don't get adverts, the fact you do get good headphones. Oh, it's tough. The overall experience is very. I enjoyed both. I thought both experiences were really good. If I had to choose one, BA. That's it. I'm afraid BA edges it ever so slightly in the final round overall. I think having those little touches like the sliding privacy door, a better use of the storage space, having the controller within one of the storage spaces, all those little things mean it edges it despite some of the drawbacks. If you do like what I try to do, my little creative splurges, like and subscribe. I'm getting a few more people along for the ride, and it means a lot, and it helps me come up with new ideas and stay enthused in this ever more depressing world.